6 o'clock that night, I hand in my script. 2 weeks go by, I'm walking through the halls of DC, and who is coming my way but maybe the most important editor in the history of comics, Julie Schwartz. Julie, if you don't know, was the architect for the Silver Age of comics, the new Flash and Green Lantern and Justice League and the new look Batman. And Julie was really gruff, exterior. Once you got to know him, he was a total marshmallow. But he was gruff, and he saw me coming and he goes, "Hey kid." I go, "Yeah, Julie." He goes, "I read your shadow script." I said, "You did?" He goes, "Yeah. It didn't stink." I go, "Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, that's great." He said, "How'd you like to take a shot writing Batman?" Well, I went back to IU, and while my friends were going to study after class, I was going back. I'm writing the Shadow, I'm writing Batman, and my dream comes true. I'm writing Batman with another woodchuck, Bob Rozakis. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. This dream I had since I was 8 years old, it's come true. I need a new dream, and I need one now. It took me 10 minutes for the epiphany to strike. And I went back to that night that I saw the Batman TV show come on the air, and I said, okay, I am going to find a way. I am going to make the dark, serious Batman movies. I went back to Saul Harrison, who was at that time president of DC Comics. He was so fatherly toward me, put his arm on my shoulder, he said, "Michael, since Batman went off the air on television, he's as dead as a dodo. Nobody's interested in Batman anymore. Save your money." I said, "No, Saul, if we do it in a dark and serious way, the world's never seen a comic book superhero done this way. It could be a whole new kind of movie." He goes, "Look, go get credentials. Get your credentials, I'll keep an eye on it, nobody's gonna want Batman, and then come back and see me when you feel you're ready." So what did I do? My senior year of college, every Friday I had gone to the library and gotten out Variety magazine, which is the Bible for the movie and TV industry. I took a yellow pad and I put down on a list the name of any executive and their title that I saw having anything to do with movies or TV. By the end of my senior year, I had 372 names that I could send resumes to instead of to whom it may concern or to human resources. I sat down at my typewriter and typed out 372 cover letters. Oh, for you people under 40, a typewriter was a box that was it's about this big. And if you're ever up by the Museum of Natural History, you got to take a look at it. It's right next to the VCR.
What?
And out of 372 resumes, I got 2 positive responses. One from a major talent agency in New York that said, "Michael, come to New York City. You'll make a great agent. You'll start in our 5-year agent training program. The first 2 years, you'll go to work in the mailroom for $95 a week. Then we'll make you a secretary, and if things work out, we'll make you an agent." I was just about to get married. I had done real well in college. I didn't want to start that way. Then a producer from LA at Universal, he was doing all their big disaster movies, said, "I like your resume, I like this whole comic book thing. Move to LA. I'll make you a production assistant, you'll go for coffee, you'll do a lot of Xeroxing, I'll start you at $95 a week." Plan B. If there's anything I can tell you in life, always have a plan B. And maybe a C and a D and an E if you can afford to. Because life takes twists and turns sometimes, and you gotta roll with it and figure it out. I went to law school, begrudgingly. I was just getting married at the end of college. Met my wife first day of our freshman year. And she was going to nursing school. I was gonna go to law school. No money at all. So what did I do? I did the unthinkable. Ladies and gentlemen, I sold 20,000 comic books. With that money, I bought her engagement ring. I bought our wedding rings. I took her on a 2.5-week honeymoon to Europe, and I paid all 3 years room, board, and tuition of law school. Thank God I didn't invest in real estate. Comic books really, really did it for me. So plan B. Went to law school, took every course I could find on communications or entertainment. When I got out of school, I got a job at the only major movie studio at that time based in New York, United Artists. This is when it was at the top of its game. I was put in charge of the legal business affairs of movies like the first 3 Rocky pictures. Black Stallion, a little movie called Raging Bull. If you've never seen it, put it on your list of the essentials. And for 2.5 years of my life, a movie called Apocalypse Now, which was the greatest training in the world, and every single day was a crisis. If you haven't read the book or seen the documentary, it's true, and you should really check it out. It was great training. I approached that job as if it was graduate school. I said, I will do this. I will meet all the power brokers. I will network like mad. I will learn how to finance and produce movies. And I'll do it within 4 years. At the end of 4 years, I am not going to be trapped being a lawyer for the rest of my life. I am going to quit, and I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to get out there and try to be producing and writing movies, TV, animation. I'm going to try to make this Batman movie happen. But the last thing I wanted was to be trapped doing your will or your estate planning. That was not in the cards. And folks, the worst thing to me that could have happened would be for me to be here today telling you all, I could have been, I could have done. Instead, I took the shot. Even if I failed, I knew I would have taken my best shot. And I did. Nancy, my wife, and I decided at that point, my odds were about 51-49, that if I bought the rights to Batman and went out to Hollywood, I would get every studio lined up at my door. After all, how could they not see it? The sequels, the animation, the merchandising, everything that could come along with a Batman movie franchise. Well, surprise to Michael, I bought the rights to Batman. It was a 6-month negotiation, and on October 3rd, 1979, my new partner, Ben Melniker, and I formed Bat Film Productions and bought the rights to Batman. And then I went into my boss and I quit. And my boss said, Michael, listen, wait a minute. Nancy is 9.1 months pregnant. You're building your first house. You know these movies would take 2 years, maybe even 3 years to make happen. If I knew then it was about to take 10, I'm not quite sure what I would have done. He said, I want you to stay 1 more year. I really need you here. I will give you this huge salary increase. I will give you this huge bonus, and you get to stay on our medical and dental plan. I said, let me sleep on this. Went back, talked to Nancy about it, slept on it, woke up the next morning, knew exactly what I needed to do. And I went back in and I quit. Because it scared the hell out of me. To think 1 year from now, when they say, well, how about just 1 more year? And I think, well, I've got a toddler. I've got a mortgage now. How much easier will it be a year from now to say, okay, just 1 more year and lose my real shot in life? And so I quit. I was ready for Hollywood to line up at my doorstep, and ladies and gentlemen, I was turned down on my dark and serious Batman pitch by every single studio in Hollywood. Not turned down, I was told it was the worst idea they ever heard. I was told I was crazy and virtually thrown out of offices. Michael, you're nuts. You can't make a movie based on some old television series that's never been done. Michael, you're crazy. You can't do a dark and serious comic book or superhero that's never been done. Michael, you're insane. You can't do this. It just won't work. You can't take Batman and do anything besides the funny pot-bellied pow zap wham thing, because that's the only Batman audiences will remember and love. My 2 favorite rejections. Columbia Pictures. I pitched my heart out. And the dapper gent who was running production for many years looked at me, gave me a tisk-tisk as he shook his head and said, Michael, you're crazy. Batman will never be successful because our movie, Annie, didn't do well. I said, wait a minute, are you talking about the little red-headed girl who sings Tomorrow? He said, yeah. I go, well, what does that have to do with Batman? He said, oh, come on, Michael, they're both out of the funny pages. That was my rejection from Columbia. My alma mater. There was a guy there, every other word out of his mouth was a curse word, so I've got to give you every other word of my rejection. He said, Michael, you're nuts. Batman and Robin will never work as a movie because the movie Robin and Marion didn't do well. Now, for those of you who don't know, Robin and Marion was a movie starring Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn at the time. They were playing an aging Robin Hood and Maid Marian. I just sat there. I didn't say a word. I gathered up my stuff and I walked out of the room. But I will tell you, periodically over the next 10 years, I did climb to the top of a mountain, sit in a lotus position, and ponder what this guy said, and could only conclude he had rejected Batman because they both had the word Robin in the title. There is no other nexus whatsoever. 10 years it took from the time we bought the rights till the time the Tim Burton movie came out. 10 years. My back was repeatedly against the wall. I was repeatedly down to my last dollar. I didn't know where I was going to turn.